Have you ever picked up a book, maybe seen that super bright orange cover, read the title, and just thought, is this guy for real?
Yeah, that sounds like Mark Manson.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We're talking about the subtle art of not giving a feck. And today we're doing a deep dive into, well, what's got to be one of the most talked about, kind of raw, and honestly, no BS self-help books out there.
He really doesn't sugarcoat things, does he? Manson isn't about telling you you're special or, just think happy thoughts.
Right.
His core idea is simpler but kind of deeper. Life's limited. So the real skill is choosing what you actually give your attention, your facts to, wisely.
And that's what we're going to do today, unpack these core ideas from the subtle art. Look at this, well, pretty counterintuitive wisdom.
Yeah.
I'm really curious how these blunt truths can actually be, I don't know, freeing. Maybe more than the usual always be positive stuff.
And I'll try to synthesize these ideas, help connect the dots for you between Manson's, let's say, provocative points and what they might actually mean for your life. It's about getting why it matters, not just what he says, especially today.
Okay, let's jump right in with maybe one of his biggest uh, truth bombs. Right at the start, chapter 1, don't try. My first thought is, wait, what? Isn't life about trying harder?
It absolutely feels that way, doesn't it? But what Manson means by don't try, well, it isn't about apathy or just giving up. It's kind of the opposite, really.
Yeah.
He's arguing that chasing constant positivity, trying so hard to be great, fix everything, that actually makes things worse.
He
Paradoxically.
uses that story of Charles Bukowski, the writer, kind of a mess alcoholic, womanizer, but famous, and on his gravestone, don't try.
Mm.
It's like this ultimate rejection of, I don't know, hustle culture.
Exactly. And that leads to his big paradox. Trying to get a positive experience is itself negative, but accepting a negative experience, that's actually positive.
Huh. Okay, say more about that.
Well, think about it. Constantly chasing happiness often just makes you feel bad when you're not happy, right? But when you just accept that you feel anxious or that a situation sucks, there's a weird kind of peace in that, groundedness.
So resisting the problem makes it bigger.
Yeah. Leaning into it, accepting the discomfort, that can actually lead to a more effective and weirdly calmer way forward.
That really goes against the grain, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We're hammered with the idea that happiness is the goal, the thing to achieve. But then Manson hits us with chapter 2. Happiness is a problem. That sounds almost cynical.
It sounds cynical, but I think it's more brutally honest. He says happiness isn't something you achieve, it's a side effect, a byproduct of solving problems.
And he doesn't pull punches about life having problems.
Not at all. He's got that quote, life itself is a form of suffering.
Oh yeah, the rich suffer because of their riches. The poor suffer because of their poverty. Everyone suffers, basically. No exceptions.
It's blunt, yeah. But it highlights this core idea. You don't escape problems, you just get to choose better ones. So the real path to a good life, choosing problems you actually kind of enjoy solving.
Pain is inevitable, but the meaning you attach, that's the choice.
That's it. Find the pain you want, as you put it.
Like an athlete training for something huge. It's grueling, it hurts, but they choose that struggle. They find purpose in it. That's the vibe, right? Finding meaning in the effort itself.
Precisely. It shifts focus from chasing some fleeting feeling to, well, engaging with challenges, committing to your values even when it's tough.
Okay, speaking of tough, if that wasn't enough of a mind bender, then comes chapter 3, you are not special.
Oh.
Wow. In a world obsessed with self-esteem, everyone's a unique snowflake. This one feels like it's designed to provoke.
It really does push back, especially against, the curated perfection we see online. Manson's point is that thinking you're extraordinary just because that leads to entitlement.
Right.
And entitlement, that just leads to disappointment because, well, reality doesn't usually match up to that inflated view.
He talks about two types, right? Like people who think they deserve success without the work, and people who think their suffering makes them uniquely deserving of special treatment.
Yeah, both assume their experience is somehow exceptional. But I think it's important here, maybe for listeners feeling down, Manson isn't trying to crush people.
That's a good point. What's the positive takeaway then?
He's saying most of your life is average, mundane even. And that's okay. He literally says the extraordinary things are rare for a reason. The insight is that accepting your averageness, it's actually freeing.
How so?
It frees you from that constant, exhausting pressure to prove yourself. You can then actually do things, maybe even extraordinary things, but from a place of purpose, not ego. Humility brings freedom.
Okay, that humility connects nicely to the next chapter, chapter 4, the value of suffering. So if suffering is inevitable, like he says, how do we make it mean something? This feels like where values come in, a real pivot.
It is. And what's useful here is he gets really specific about good values versus bad values, good ones. They're based in reality, they're constructive socially, and crucially, you can control them. They're internal.
Like, I want to be honest, even when it's hard. That's internal, controllable.
Exactly. Versus a bad value, which is often external, maybe socially destructive, and definitely not controllable.
Like, I want everyone to like me.
Mhm.
Total bad value. You can't control that.
Right. It leads to compromising, people-pleasing. Manson suggests suffering only has meaning if it serves a value you truly believe is worth the struggle. It pushes you towards values like growth, integrity, truth, not just ego or looking good.
It's one thing to say you value honesty, but he's asking.
He's asking, do you live it when it's really uncomfortable? When it costs you something? That's where the value gets tested.
That idea of choice, of control, really ramps up in Chapter 5. You're always choosing. This feels like one of the most empowering chapters. It's all about your power to choose your reaction.
Absolutely. You can't control what happens to you. Traffic jam, rude comment, whatever. But you always control how you interpret it, how you respond.
He flips that Spider-Man quote, doesn't he? Instead of great power comes great responsibility.
He says, with great responsibility comes great power. Meaning the power comes from taking responsibility, owning your part, owning your reaction, even when it feels unfair.
So the car crash example, you didn't cause it, fine, but you choose. Scream, stay calm, let it wreck your whole day. It's your narrative.
Precisely. Playing the victim might feel okay for a second, gets you sympathy maybe, but Manson calls it poison long term because it takes away your power. Taking responsibility, even just for your response, that puts you back in charge. It's about agency, not blame.
Okay, but if you're taking a responsibility, you also got to be open to maybe not being right all the time. Which brings us to Chapter 6. You're wrong about everything. Another blunt one. But timely, maybe, in how polarized things are.
Definitely timely. His point is that certainty, being sure you're right, often just leads to a closed mind, rigidity. He frames doubt not as weakness, but as, well, wisdom.
Being okay with saying, I don't know.
Exactly. Developing that mental flexibility, being open to new information. It's a skill, especially now.
And he links this to ego. That, quote, the more something threatens your identity, the more you will avoid it. So clinging to being right is often just protecting ourselves.
Often, yeah. It's an ego defense. Letting go of that need. That allows for real growth, evolution. It's way more valuable than just being right. Less exhausting, too.
So you're open to being wrong. You're choosing your reactions. But how do you actually get moving if you're stuck? Chapter 7. Failure is the way forward. This challenges the deep-seated fear most of us have about failing.
It does, because we're taught failure is bad, the opposite of success. Manson flips it. Improvement comes from tons of tiny failures. You learn by doing, by messing up, not by just thinking about it.
Confidence comes after the action, not before.
That's the key insight. You build confidence through small wins, small failures, through experience, not by waiting until you feel perfectly confident.
Which leads to his do something principle. So simple. Don't wait for motivation. Just do something, anything small.
Yeah, even the tiniest action creates a bit of momentum. And momentum builds. It's huge for anyone feeling overwhelmed. Don't feel ready, doesn't matter. Take one small step. That's how progress starts.
And once you start moving, taking action, you realize pretty quick you can't do everything. Can't say yes to everything. Which is Chapter 8, the importance of saying no. Boundaries.
Yep.
So many people struggle with this.
Oh, absolutely. Trying to care about everything, please everyone. It's a direct path to burnout. Learning to say no, being okay with disappointing people sometimes, it's essential, protects your energy, your time, your values.
It's self-care, really, not selfishness.
Exactly. And he has that killer quote, you can't be an important and life-changing presence for some people without also being a joke and an embarrassment to others.
Oh, that's stark. But true. You just can't please everyone. Trying is a losing game.
Totally. And having strong boundaries, it doesn't make you cold. It just makes you clear. Clear about what matters to you, what you stand for.
Okay, which brings us to the final chapter, the big one. Chapter 9, and then you die.
Yeah.
Confronting mortality head on. Not to be morbid, he says, but to actually liberate us, sharpen focus.
That's the idea. Remembering we're finite, that this isn't forever, it fundamentally shifts your perspective. It strips away the petty stuff.
He has that other great quote, you're going to die someday. You have a limited number of flicks to give, so better figure out which ones really matter. Puts things in perspective fast.
It really does. He shares that story about his friend dying suddenly, how it just snapped him awake. made him appreciate the present, real connections, meaningful work, a harsh reminder, but powerful.
So death isn't just the end. In a weird way, it's the ultimate teacher, because it's what gives life its urgency, its meaning.
That's exactly Manson's point. It provides the ultimate context. It forces that question. If time was short, what would I truly care about? What deserves my limited flicks?
Okay, let's maybe do a quick flyby recap of these big ideas. 1. Don't chase constant positivity, accept life, problems and all.
2. Choose your problems. Happiness is a byproduct of solving challenges you find meaningful.
3. You are not special. Embrace ordinariness. Find freedom from ego.
4. Good values guide a good life. Make sure they're reality-based and controllable internal.
5. Responsibility equals power. Own your responses always.
6. Be skeptical of certainty. Doubt can be wisdom. Stay open. Keep learning.
7. Action first, motivation follows. Just do something small.
8. Saying no is crucial. Set boundaries to protect your priorities.
And 9, the big one. Death gives life meaning. Let mortality focus you on what truly counts.
And pulling it all together, the subtle art isn't really about being careless or nihilistic, despite the title. It's the opposite. It's about being incredibly careful and intentional about where you place your energy and attention.
Right. It's not anti-feeling or anti-effort. It's about intentionality. Cutting through the noise, owning your choices, daily stuff, relationships, what you'll stand for. It's freedom through choosing what not to care about so you can invest deeply in what you do.
Which really brings up a question for you listening. What's maybe one thing you've consciously stopped giving a feck about? And what changed for you when you did that? Anything unexpected?
Yeah, good question. And maybe one final thought to chew on. If this subtle art is all about choosing our values, our cares, what does it really take to live those values consistently day after day? Especially when everything around us seems to be screaming for our attention, telling us to care about everything, something to think about.